Greetings, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. This video is the audience's request. I've had multiple requests to do this video, so I hope it does well, and I hope you all enjoy. With that being said, down below in the description box, if you enjoy what you are hearing, please feel free to buy me a coffee, as it does help me and the channel. I appreciate you and thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, let's get you that dose of vocal melatonin that you always crave. It is time to go back to ashes. For when we go back to the ashes, we then arise a bigger, brighter, better, and happier person in the morning. Sit back and relax, or curl up and get warm, and enjoy these true glitch in the matrix stories. I can't explain what happened today, and I've never came across anything like it in my life. I literally can't stop thinking about it. Today, I was leaving work after a meeting and driving home on my way, all too familiar route. Before anyone asks, yes, I was sober, and no, I wasn't under the influence of any drugs. I also have no mental issues or under any abnormal stress. Anyway, I was coming to a turnoff on the road, and there was a car in front of me. It had stopped to let traffic that had the right-of-way pass. This is a popular crossing for people trying to skip the road. As I came to a stop, I noticed a woman wanting to cross. She stood out to me instantly as she was carrying a Tesco bag at a weird angle. Instead of holding it by the straps, she had the opening curled up and was holding it out from her chest. She appeared in her mid-50s and was wearing a woolly hat, parka jacket, and the hood up. She hurt my heart a little. As you could tell, she didn't have much money and had a sad expression on her face. I waved my hand to signal to her to go ahead and cross in front of me, and she gave me a gentle nod to thank me. I thought nothing more of it until I traveled around 10 minutes in the direction of which she was coming from. As I pulled to a set of red lights, I put on my handbrake and someone caught my eye to the left of my vision. It was the exact same woman, same clothing, carrying the same bag, heading in the same direction she was originally headed towards. This happened at 2:30-ish p.m., and it is now 10 p.m. I can't stop thinking about it. It would be almost impossible for her to get there ahead of me via means of transport or walking. I know the buses that pass this route, and none of them passed me. I thought that maybe she caught a ride of someone, but again, I would have been ahead of them, and to get to where I spotted her the second time, you'd have to go around yourself, adding around 20 minutes extra journey time. I'm a skeptical person, so I told my wife, and she just kind of laughed it off and didn't take me seriously. Anyone have any ideas or similar stories? I'm really trying to make sense of this for my own sanity. Did I seriously just experience a glitch? I walk home from school every day, and I always take the same route. I take a sidewalk, always on the left, and cars pass by me each time. I do have to cross 3 different intersections, but only one is fairly busy, so I cross without a problem. Yes, I do look both ways. A few weeks ago, I was walking my normal route, and I had to cross the second intersection. There was a truck pulling up with its blinker on, and across the street was a small silver car, the ones with the sloping roof, and it was pulling up to the intersection, situated left to the one I was waiting to cross. To my annoyance, it did not have its blinker on, and it was clearly trying to turn to the street the truck was departing. The truck crosses onto the main lane, while the silver car simultaneously turning to the smaller street as I walk past it. I'm a bit of a people watcher, so I watch people, even when they're driving. So I stared at this little car, turned away, met the sidewalk, and then looked back again. It was completely gone. It was mere seconds between the time I last saw the vehicle and when I looked back. Less than 5 seconds. Plus, the street was only one way, so the driver had nowhere to turn except go straight, and it just vanished. It had been too quick for the car to have driven that fast, and I never heard any revving engines. It did look odd, turning opposite the truck. As I saw it turn, it seemed to slip quietly into a void I couldn't see, slipping through the silhouette of the truck and just poof, gone. I still don't know what happened to that car. Something happened a few years back that I can't shake and would really love some kind of explanation as to what the hell happened, as it has played on my mind ever since. Let me just clarify before I start. I am completely sound of mind. I just want some closure, I guess. So, here it goes. I have always been into the paranormal as a kid. I was completely fascinated by it, and I have found over the years, the more open to it you are, the more downright bizarre some of the stuff you experience is. This tops my list of weird experiences. This happened about 7 years ago. My sister came to my flat one night after work. She finished work at 5:30. To spend a bit of time with me, as we had both been working like crazy and hadn't had the time to catch up. It was just the two of us, and she suggested having a game of cards with our coffees, something we have always done since we were kids. It is a favorite pastime in our house. Once I had gotten the cards out and started shuffling them, she asked me to look at the time on my phone, as she had to work the next morning at 7 a.m. and needed to be home at a reasonable time. She had lost her phone on a night out a few days previous. I told her it was 6:10 p.m. in the evening. She replied, "Okay, well, I'll have to be getting off at around 8:45 p.m. to get my uniform washed and dried, so keep an eye on the time for me." I agreed, and we started playing a bit of rummy to start with. Now, we weren't drinking alcohol or taking any drugs. We were just having a relaxed game of cards, chatting about guys and work. The usual stuff, I suppose. Everything was normal. We played cards for what felt like 2 hours, easy. I mean, you can't mistake that length of time when you have about 16 to 18 hands of rummy, and we're in the early stages of playing a game of poker, having got bored of the other game. Out of nowhere, I remember having the weirdest feeling come over me, like the light in the room dimmed, and I distinctly felt an electrical crackle start in the bottom of my spine and shoot all the way up to my skull. I physically jolted upright. The sensation was so intense. I looked at her, and she was looking at me all wide-eyed and silent, like she knew something was wrong. I blurted out, "Something is wrong. Really, very wrong." Without blinking or reacting in any other way, she just says to me, "Look at the time," which I thought was the weirdest response. I picked up my phone and looked at the time. A mixture of shock and dread creeps over me. "That can't be right. It's not possible," I mumbled out loud. My phone must have glitched out or something. Getting up to turn the telly on to see what time is on there, she is looking at me like, what the hell is going on? What is it? What's the time?" she asks me again. I just repeat that it can't be right, and as I switch the telly on, the time flashes up in the corner of the screen. It said 6:29. She sees it and is now just as freaked out as I am. "That can't be right. Did your phone say the same time?" I showed her the screen. I pull out a laptop to check the time and even got a watch out of my drawer to see if they all matched, and sure enough, they did. There was no possible way that we had been set playing cards for just 20 minutes. I asked her how long she thought we had been set there for, and she said a couple of hours, like myself. We just sat there in a bit of a fog, like, what on earth had just happened? We tried to discuss it, but we couldn't make any sense of it. To be honest, it felt uncomfortable. Even to this day, to talk about it, it doesn't feel right. She breaks the silence with a joke. Something like, "Oh well, at least I have another couple of hours to chill with you." We just tried to forget about it. I just wondered if anyone had any ideas as to what it was. I'm sorry this is such a long post. By the way, the carbon monoxide detectors worked fine, and I had frequent gas checks, as was policy by the landlord. So, we weren't under any influence of anything. I lost my wallet in college, and it reappeared at my parents' house. About 6 weeks into my college semester, I changed dorm rooms. My friend was helping me pack up my stuff to move into my new room. I was packing my clothes, and she packed things on my desk, including a small green wallet. There was about $450 in the wallet, and most of the time, I kept it in my dorm room. It wasn't my primary wallet, and I never really took it anywhere. It just held emergency money. When I got to my new dorm room to unpack, I couldn't find the wallet and thought my old roommate stole it or something. I asked my friend, and she swore she packed it with some other stuff. I also asked her to describe it, and she said it was super bright green. If she never saw it, she wouldn't have known that it was an odd color. Fast forward 4 weeks, I still never saw the wallet. I flew home for break. I go to college out of state. I walked into my bedroom at my parents' house and wanted to shower before unpacking. Keep in mind, I am thousands of miles away from my college campus, I opened my dresser drawer to grab some new clothes, and my wallet was sitting inside the drawer, on top of my clothes. The same amount of money was inside. When I told my friend, she was also shocked because she distinctly remembers packing it 4 weeks earlier. This is weird because, one, when I got into the room, I didn't even unpack anything. I just opened the drawer. And two, the wallet was super bright green and couldn't have been mistaken with another wallet. So, I have this aging lap dog, so I built a ramp for him to use when I opened the door for him to pee, instead of him having to use the stairs. I would open the door, he'd run down the ramp, do his business in the garden, and then come back and have me lift him back up into the house. He won't take the stairs or go back up the ramp anymore. So, I just did the routine. He came back, waited to be lifted. I checked his butt in case I needed to clean it. I have him in my bed so skid marks aren't going to happen. And then set him down on the floor in the hallway, drawing the door closed behind me. I followed him through the hallway and stepped into the living room. I threw another log on the fire and then turned to look through the open bedroom door to confirm that he's on his doggy sofa, waiting to be lifted into bed. But he wasn't there. I checked the kitchen. Not there either. Living room. Still no. Bedroom? Nope. Went back through the hallway to see if he had somehow ended up in the bathroom. Nope. What the hell? Where is he? In desperation, just to confirm I'm not crazy, I opened the back door again to see if I didn't just imagine this entire sequence. And there he was, happily just returning from his pee. He didn't look worried at all. Not at all having been left outside look on him even. What the hell? I thought teleportation was firmly in the cat domain. This happened to me a couple weeks ago, and I've been thinking about it nonstop since. My roommate and I went through the Taco Bell drive-thru, as one does. I was driving, and he was a passenger. I ordered a combo meal, a quesadilla one if you're curious, which came with a medium drink. I pulled up to the window to pay and handed over my card. While the drive-thru worker was processing my payment, I moved a cup from my middle console cup holder to the cup holder that's down on the door to make room for my drink that was coming with my meal. The worker gave me my card back and then immediately gave me my drink with a straw. I know for certain that I put it in the middle console cup holder because I bumped my roommate when I was trying to get it to fit. We get our food and begin the short journey home. When I pulled into the driveway, my roommate stepped out of the car with the bag of food. I reached down to the cup holder to grab my drink, and it wasn't there. I checked every single cup holder in that car, and it was nowhere to be seen. I asked my roommate if he grabbed it, and he said he didn't. And I was also confused as to where my drink went. We both remember me getting a drink with my meal, and it was just gone. I was weirdly upset. Not because I didn't have a drink, but because I felt like I was going crazy and being gaslit by the universe. I've misplaced things like that before, but there was absolutely nowhere it could have gone. It took me a while to calm down, but this has been in the back of my mind for the last 2 weeks, just eating away at me. I can only assume me from another dimension got a surprise Diet Pepsi that somehow slipped through a rift or something. Does anyone here have thoughts on what might have happened? I experienced this glitch a few months back. This is a relatively short story, but still creeps me out to this day because of how certain I am of it. Now, on to the story. So, I was working in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in a travel job where I would stay in hotels throughout the week and then travel home for the weekend. I got off at 5 per usual, and before I got on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, I stopped at a mom and pop style gas station to fuel up for the trip home. I got my gas, went in to pay for it, and headed for the turnpike. I drove for maybe 2.5 hours before I decided I was going to pull off and get a quick bite and use the bathroom. I punched in my GPS the nearest gas station and headed to it. And I swear to God, I pulled into the exact same mom and pop gas station. I walked in to get a burger and almost fell over. I was so freaked out. I finished up in the station, walked out to the truck, and my GPS reflected I was in the same spot. Those 2.5 hours of driving completely erased as it was after 7. I should have been halfway home by now. The only logic I have is I fell asleep at the station, but surely someone would have woken me up if I was there that long. I remember the drive and the gas in my truck reflected I had been driving. It's my only ever glitch, and it still baffles me to this day. I had a particularly pleasant item to partake of. Another person in the house had also partaken of said similar item and wanted to be able to duplicate that item exactly, including brand, and if possible, lot number. I went to the place I'd placed the item, and it wasn't there. I searched everything around it. Any place else I thought I might have possibly put the item, if it wasn't where I usually put it. No luck. I continued searching, coming back to the original location about 6 times and looking near it, in case I'd just tweaked it slightly. No luck. The other person helped me look also. They also searched original location at least 2 to 3 times. Still, no luck. Finally, I said, I need to stop stressing and sit down and relax. It will come to me. But it didn't. Finally, after searching for over 2 hours, and also trying to relax and let it come to me for an hour or 2 more, I followed my regular routine and went to bed. Immediately upon arising, I found the item on top of the box where I thought I put it, hanging over onto my toothbrush. Just there I thought I put it, but I thought inside the box, not outside. It wasn't there when I brushed my teeth before bed, but there it was, plain as day. Did it glitch away and come back? Or did the leprechauns bring it back? What do you think? I don't remember if something like this has ever happened to me before, but last night I was at my computer watching a show while I was applying nail polish. At some point, I took off my sweatshirt because I was hot and put it on my lap. My attention was on the nail polish and the show. Then something hit me and I looked down at my lap, and there was no sweater. I was really shocked, and my eyes were glued to my lap for at least a minute. When I turned around, my sweatshirt was on my bed. Usually, if I take something off, I throw it on my bed, but I put it on my lap in case I got cold again. At some point, I might have thrown the sweatshirt on the bed while I was distracted by the show, but something didn't click into place, and it didn't feel that way. I think it was the first time I've ever experienced something like that. Like it literally caught my attention, because that weight on my lap was gone, and I looked and there was no sweatshirt. What do you all think? Is it a glitch, or did I throw the shirt off without realizing it at the time? I'll start this by saying my mom and I are superstitious, and we believe in the paranormal and weird stuff, or things such as glitches. This happened to us yesterday, and we've told a few people, and they all think it's extremely weird and isn't possible. My mom and I were coming back from New York. We were on the highway, and we're going to take the Mansfield exit to go through town. All of a sudden, after a weird fog that lasted maybe 10 seconds, we're on this long-ass road we didn't recognize, and the next exit is Sebring. Sebring is 18 minutes away from Mansfield. Sebring is also an exit coming back from the opposite way, which is further into Pennsylvania and nowhere near the New York border. We came up on the Sebring exit as if we were headed back from the opposite side of the state. We're both trying to put it together, and the last time we remember seeing was 420, of course, and we were never conscious of the time until it was 6:20. A few minutes after we got off at Sebring, we got off at the Elkland exit, one of the first exits right outside New York, before we got back on the highway towards the Mansfield exit when we went through the thick fog. I remember it because I said, "Holy crap," when I saw how thick it was. But our conclusion is that the fog did something to cause the glitch, and now we're just confused and missing an entire hour of our lives. To put it in perspective even further, coming back from New York, you almost immediately hit the Elkland exit. We got off there to go to a store, and we got back onto the highway so we could get off at the Mansfield exit, which is a little bit after the Elkland exit. In order to get to the Sebring exit, we would have had to pass 2/3 town exits. As I said, Sebring is 18 minutes away from Mansfield, and there is no way we could have gotten there in the span of 5 minutes. We came at the exit as if we were going back to Mansfield and Elkland. That's just impossible. We stayed on the highway, didn't make any turns or anything. It's just something weird. I'm sorry for the long read, but I really think we just experienced a glitch. This is so weird because it has now happened twice. Two different cars. I purchased nail polish, along with a few other items, and put them in the back seat of my car. There wasn't a bag. When I got home, I emptied the car. A few days later, I couldn't find the nail polish, so I assumed I forgot it in the car. I go to the car and specifically check the back seat. There was nothing there. I then thought maybe I left it in the counter at the store. Then, 2 days later, I get in my car and look in the back seat. Lo and behold, my nail polish is right there in plain sight. There is no way I would have overlooked it when I specifically looked for it in the exact same location. Months later, I find my house key. I usually get into my house via the garage door opener. When I was helping my dad move, I was using his car, so I put my house key on a single keychain so I could have access to my house without my garage door opener. I used my dad's car for a month, using his key daily. Then, I gave the car back to my dad. I got home in my car and used the garage to get in. That is when I realized I left my house key in his car. I go back and search his car for the key, and it's nowhere to be found. I looked in the cup holders, glove box, under the seats, literally everywhere. My husband then searched the whole car as well. It just wasn't there. For the past year, I have been driving my dad's car weekly to take him places. He no longer drives, but keeps his car so I can drive him around because his walker doesn't fit in my car. A year later, there is my house key, right on the floor mat of the driver's side seat, plain as day, not hidden or under the mat, just right there, as if it had been there all year long. What kind of freaking glitch did I just experience? When my husband and I were dating, he bought me a diamond necklace for Valentine's Day in 2016. I loved this necklace. I wore it all the time and hadn't ever taken it off. Following spring of 2017, I was trying on wedding dresses for a couple of hours, so a lot of changing. I got home and noticed my necklace was not around my neck and realized it had probably broken and came off in the dressing room with all the changing I was doing. I was obviously very sad, but just kind of like, well, not much we can do about it now. Someone probably already picked it up. 3 years later, in the spring of 2020, we moved. Prior to moving, we did a lot of spring cleaning and getting rid of unnecessary items. Going through old drawers and such that hadn't been touched in years, just completely cutting out anything unnecessary. We got to our new home and proceeded to take a solid week to unpack and get everything sorted out. My husband pulled a small trinket type drawer out of one of the packed boxes and turns to me pulling something out of the box. "Isn't this the necklace I got you that you lost?" Indeed, it was. I hope you all enjoyed that because my mind is blown. I think I just experienced a glitch. So, I live close to an intersection of two main roads. Road A heading north and south, and Road B heading west and east. I lived on Road A. On the corner of this intersection is a collection of 3 small shops that share the same building. I live 2 driveways up from that, roughly 250 meters from the intersection. My sister lives off a service road of Road B, about 10 houses up, roughly 450 meters from the intersection. I know this is specific, but it is relevant. It's about a 6-minute walk from my house to hers. The walk to the entrance of the service road would be about a 4 to 5 minute walk. Not to mention, there is a relative incline at the beginning of Road B. I had to run to my sister's house, as she tends to borrow things without telling me and forgets to bring them back. I needed to grab my vacuum. I went to get in my car and remembered that it was bin day. I proceeded to grab my bin and began walking it to the side of the road, where at the end of the driveway, there was a couple walking by, heading up my street, going north, away from the intersection. A man in a green tracksuit, which I thought to be quite the look for a man of his age. The woman was in a similar pink tracksuit. They looked to be in their later years. I'd say late 60s. After a polite little back and forth, you go, no, you go, I allowed them to pass first. I rolled my bin to the curb and got in my car and pulled to the end of my driveway to do a loop through 2 back roads to avoid traffic lights and cars, etc. The old left and left again if you're in Australia. I have timed the trip. It takes approximately 1 minute and 25 seconds to make the car ride. I'd be happy to give it 2 minutes if it's busy, and I can't turn onto Road B immediately from the back road. However, it wasn't busy as it was 11 a.m. on a Sunday. As I turned left out of my driveway, I saw the couple had proceeded maybe another 50 meters before crossing the street now from the left side, which we were originally on, to the right side of the road, and stopped to look at some furniture that was on the street for hard rubbish collection. I proceed with my 1.5 minute drive to my sister's. When pulling into the service road, who do I see? The couple in their tracksuits, now heading towards my sister's house. Now, I know it was them because, again, I had to stop and let them pass at the service road. It's gravel, and to avoid a large pothole, you need to drive slightly on the footpath. So, I have a good 5 to 10 seconds of taking this all in before I can drive past. I stop at my sister's driveway very confused. As I get out to open her gate, they walk past with no interaction at all. Even if it was possible that these people are marathon sprinters who were heading north and a minute later were heading west and uphill without breaking a single sweat in their 60s, covering a distance that even me as a 27-year-old female couldn't cover in that time. I had literally just interacted with them minutes before, and they acted like I was a stranger. I do know I am a stranger, but not even confusion. It's just like they were literally copied and pasted, and I just can't work it out. I have gotten my sister to walk from the spot I last saw them towards her house, from when I turned down the first side street, and she can't make it there before me without breaking into a sprint. So, to Mr. Green and his little wife, if you were Usain Bolt in disguise, you got me. If not, your programmers messed up. I was walking home at night and passed by a neighbor's house I walk past all the time. The owners had 2 dogs. They always see me since they have a normal chain link fence, which I can see through and also over it. The house has a driveway that is gated, and the gate is taller than the fence. Every single time I walk past the house, they always bark. On this day, I walked by and they were both barking extremely loud, and even louder than usual. I never feel scared of the dogs since I know they are behind the fence. This day it just felt off, and they kept barking, and suddenly, as I walked past the gate, I heard some leaves crunch right behind me. I turned around and saw one of the dogs. Immediately, the barking stopped. He was just looking across the street, looking west, but not at me. I was walking south. I was instantly surprised since the gate was not open, and I also did not hear the gate open at all. I thought I was seeing things and blinked to really make sure I was seeing this dog, because I really didn't want to run. As soon as I blinked, the dog was gone. No leaves rustling, no dog steps, no gate closing or opening. Absolute silence. I was shocked. I blinked again, looked back and was startled. Like, what the hell just happened? The dog just vanished. Was this a glitch, or am I going out of my mind? In summer 2021, I bought a jewelry box at an estate sale. I've been keeping my jewelry, makeup, etc. in one of these little plastic drawer sets you buy at Walmart since college, and it was time for an upgrade. I moved over the jewelry I wear most often and left the rest in the plastic drawers. Prior to all of this, years ago, my high school boyfriend had bought me the very generous gift of a necklace and earrings, set from the Swarovski Museum on a trip to Austria. A sparkling green crystal shell on a turtle-shaped silver pennant, with matching round studs. I was very disappointed to lose one of the earrings a couple years later. I wore the remaining stud by itself a few times, opposite a small hoop. I tried to wear it in my cartilage piercing, but that was a no-no, so since the post was too thick and it hurt. I combed through those plastic drawers several times over the years, just in case. After moving between a few states and even more residences, it was more of a habit than anything. I knew it wasn't there. Back to the present-ish. On some certain day in early 2022, after several months' use of the jewelry box, I found myself unenticed by its contents and turned to the plastic drawers to see if I could find any more interesting earrings. The green crystal stud caught my eye in the drawer, and I thought to myself, hang on, I thought I just saw this in the jewelry box, didn't I? I picked it up, turned it around, and looked back in the jewelry box. Lo and behold, there it was, sitting in the box, its twin in my hand. There were 2 of them. This was impossible, and yet I have 2. I put them right in, eyes wide, and went to work. That night, I was hesitant to take them off, worried that one might disappear while I slept. When I awoke, both remained on my bedside table, and I'm very pleased to report that they have stayed together ever since. I don't know what happened. Either I experienced a glitch or this thing has magical powers and learned how to disappear and reappear. Regardless of the case, I'm very happy I now have both my earrings. My watch ended up missing. I had looked around. I asked in my head for it back to reappear. I start really searching. It reappears in a spot I look in all the time. What the hell? Plus, the moon seems to be oddly shaped, or its shadow, with a blue sort of aurora or color around it. I have a watch, not exactly cheap. I wear it basically daily. It goes missing. Okay, it'll turn up. I've probably left it in a nook or cranny somewhere, or at the bottom of a bag, and I look in the usual most obvious places. I check the most obvious places where it's fallen down into before. Okay, full closure. I've had a thing go missing before, so I had said a few days ago in my head, whatever you are, I'd like it back please, or even just to manifest it back. So I'm a little corned now. I looked again. I start emptying out a few places that maybe I left it absent-mindedly. Maybe. Then, of course, I look in the obvious place, or should I say glanced at. Lo and behold, there it is. There's no effing way I haven't checked or merely seen that area 100 times. I drop things down there all the time, and it's barely a nook and cranny, but a spot next to my desk where my cables and cords often fall or get jumbled up. There's no effing way I wouldn't spot it. Pretty much immediately. It'd be the first place I'd have looked. Actively searching now, and I guess I glanced and there it is, just sitting right there. There is no place it could have fallen or flung from, but there it is. Here's a bonus. Anyone ever look at the moon and have it seem not quite right? I was looking at the moon and the curvature seemed off, like it was being covered by a circular object rather than what it is normally. It even seemed to have slight point near one of its tips, suggesting multiple black circles obscuring the moon, or producing what we know as shadow, and it seemed to have a blue glow around it. I'm wondering if I experienced the glitch with this watch, or if the moon has something to do with its disappearance. And that, dear listeners, brings an end to these true Glitch in the Matrix stories. I am sorry this video is just a pinch short, but I wanted to know how this genre goes over well with you all. If you are sleeping, I hope Slumberland is treating you kindly. If you are awake and listening to this, I hope you have enjoyed this collection of stories. In the meantime, I'll read to you soon. Have a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good